Hey everyone, it's Michael. I hope you're doing well today, and I have a review here finally for All-Star Superman, the 2011 animated movie based on the Grant Morrison Frank Quietly graphic novel that I read last year in 2025 for the first time. And I found this movie at a local shop that I go to. I was really glad I found it. It was fairly cheap. I think I got it for like $2. And I decided to finally get around to watching it. But mind you, when I started watching it finally, I got really sick around Christmas time with this cold thing going around. So I can't tell you every detail of the movie, but I can tell you enough to reflect on the book and reflect on this, because I did review the book for the channel, on my opinions about this movie. Up front, it's a good, solid adaptation of that comic. It's not a perfect adaptation, but mind you, at the same time, I'm not the biggest fan of that book either. Just because of the overall execution, I'm not the biggest Grant Morrison guy. Not even the biggest Superman guy. It kind of depends on what we're talking about for me. I've always been in the animated interests, more into like the 90s and 2000 stuff, like the Justice League cartoon or Batman the Animated Series. All that kind of stuff are more of my alley. I prefer when it comes to animated DCU stuff. So I went into this a little hesitant. The poster was cool. I had never seen a trailer for it. I wasn't sure how faithful it would be to the book. The book itself, for anybody who doesn't know, is kind of a collection of short stories. It seems like most of each issue collected there is kind of a standalone type of thing, but not really. It's all bound up in the storyline of Superman finding out that he's dying, a very slow, very cancerous-like death from kryptonite poisoning. Too much exposure to it. And I really, like I talked about in the book review, I really love, like, the first thing that he did was go tell Lois that he's Superman, because she doesn't know yet. By the way, Lois is played by Christina Hendricks. There's a lot of other voice talents in here, like Steve Blum, not as Superman. He's as another character. I think it was Samson, if I remember correctly. There's other voice talents in here that you'll know of, that you'll realize when you hear them, like John DiMaggio. Or did he play Samson? I can't remember who played what, but there's good voices in here, but they're not good where they really matter, in my opinion, like with Superman. I don't know who the guy is playing Superman. I don't think I've ever heard him in anything. Apparently he was a big Sex and the City actor. He is not that great as Superman. He has his moments, in my opinion, that he's okay, he's serviceable, but it's kind of like the animation for this movie. Not a big fan of him for this role. And with that, as I just said, with the animation, not a big fan of this style of the animation the DCU was doing for a while, or DCAU, whatever we called this bullshit. I'm not in love with the look of Superman's lips in this, and I know that sounds very odd to say that, but it's the truth. I don't like the way he looks here. I don't like the way most of the people look here. And they look not as close to the Frank Quietly artwork from the graphic novel, which I'm not the biggest complainer about that. That sounds like Simpsons comic book guy types of complaints. I don't feel like I should come from that particular angle. I just think that I want a good story, and I was hoping they would blend the stories maybe a little bit better to make it feel less choppy the way the graphic novel is, because again, it makes sense to have a bunch of little short stories collected there in an overall premise, concept, whatever, like the novel does, because it's a comic. It makes sense there. It doesn't make as much sense for a movie, so I figure they probably had a tough time adapting this. I don't think everything from the graphic novel was adapted for this, like from the book. If I'm being honest, this movie's an hour and 16 minutes, and I'm fairly certain there was a couple of stories missing that I remembered from the book, but didn't remember thoroughly enough, and plus being sick while I watched this, I can't tell you that I paid attention to every little detail of it. I was watching the movie, didn't have my phone out or anything, but I just wasn't all there, so I'm sure there's stuff I missed. That's why I mainly prioritized some TV shows like Yu Yu Hakusho when I was watching things while I was sick. Which, by the way, I have a review coming up for that too, in case you're interested. All-Star Superman has a decent soundtrack to its score, not really a soundtrack. It's kind of the generic DCAU type of music. If you like that a lot, you're going to like this. If you don't, well, you're probably going to feel how I feel. It's a very okay movie, but it's one that I really honestly have no interest in rewatching whatsoever at all. I'm not a hardcore enough Superman fan to hold on to this movie in my collection, but the weird thing is I don't really come across this at like Goodwill and thrift stores and stuff very often. So I'm kind of caught in this place of I may want to watch this again sometime, but I don't want to pay for it again. Especially it's going to cost more than $2. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to hold on to this or not. I do think up front, I think I like the book more. But I don't know if someone wasn't a big comic fan, like my dad, for example, if I showed him this movie, I would be curious what he would think of it, if he would have enjoyed this, because it's so disjointed. And it's not really the movie's fault, it's the book concept that it's adapting's fault. But I feel like if you're a diehard fan of All-Star Superman, I feel like you're going to love this. Maybe. I don't know. I could be wrong, but maybe. And I think that book in some respects is kind of a masterpiece. But I also think Grant Morrison is super overrated, so like it might be sort of leaning into a masterpiece for him, maybe. I still like his Batman work more, except for Batman R.I.P., that's trash. But this is fine as an adaptation. I just don't love it. I would be shocked if somebody told me they loved this movie. To me, it feels just slightly above average. And not to the level of the book being that way, too. So anyway, have you watched All-Star Superman? Have you read the book? I'd love to hear what you have to say about all that, both of them. Put all those thoughts down in the comment section down below for me. I'd love to talk about the book and the movie with you, just to hear what you have to say. Yeah, I'm not in love with this. Gotta be honest. I would love to hear the hardcore fans, what their opinions are of this movie. Fans of that graphic novel, I mean. Anyway, what do you think? Put it down below. Thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all. Catch you later, and goodbye.